The modern world is Western. Trains, electricity, refrigerators, cars, internet, phones, penicillin, toilets, air conditioning, and yes, pizza and Pepsi. So said one of the respondents to one of my videos, and I must admit it was. Wherever you are, welcome to another of my takes on China. And if we're going to be honest, China has all those things. It also has several thousand years of traditional medicine, and it now makes and sells more of all of the above than all or most other countries combined. However, the modern world that was spoken of here seems to me to be locked in the 1960s. I was born in 1958 and I had all those things other than the internet. When I was a child, we even got color TV in the 70s, and I thought that was wonderful. Pizza, according to some stories, was taken back to Italy by Marco Polo. Now, I know a few of you will jump on this and say, hey, Jerry, that was pasta. But this is a less well-known story. Apparently, Marco Polo was so enamored with the naan bread that he saw in Xinjiang, which is an important staple of the Uyghur diet, that he asked his housekeeper to make it for him in Italy. She served it to him and he added tomato and cheese. Now, I don't know if that's true. We can believe that if we want, but for sure, pizza is not a symbol of the modern world. And if anyone thinks Pizza Hut is, then I feel very sorry for you. As for Pepsi, again, if that's the best you've got in culture to regale us with, you have a very sad life. But I have to ask this. Is this what you think of as the modern world? In the 1960s, the USA sent men to the moon, or so they say. Now, I don't know if they did or they didn't, but definitely I saw a representative of NASA saying they've lost the technology to do that. So there's an element of doubt there, isn't there? But I don't want to get into that. Let's for the moment assume that they did. And that was, at the time, the modern world. There should be no doubt the USA led it. But did they? Is there some doubt? The Soviet Union also sent people, satellites, and even had a spacewalk before the USA did. The modern world was already in existence outside of the USA. Now, I'd suggest the modern world is led by China. The Chinese created a hybrid rice that prevent the mass starvation of millions of people. They've even gone one step further and created a rice that can be grown in salt water. Now, things like this may not seem important. They are epoch-changing events because it means island nations are able to grow things they've never been able to grow before. Deserts in the Middle East literally can bloom, and less people will die early because of avoidable famines. In the space race, we now have the USA reaching out to China for access to their technologies, and China has to make a decision whether to share or not based on the fact that the USA made a law to make such sharing illegal. China has advanced communications that actually work and are networked throughout the country into every tiny village. Cars that drive themselves, ships powered by the sun, automation and robotics that Western countries can only look on with jealousy. The Western system of governance is so advanced that it caters only to an elite group of people. Even Princeton University has come out and said democracy in the USA isn't working. But China has developed a system, a modern system of governance that allows people to have a say in how their lives are run and managed. Something has changed. Yes, it's true, China entered the modern world late. And they were a little slower in having refrigerators in every home, having a car or two parked on every driveway, getting air conditioning into every room of the house or apartment. But it certainly didn't waste any time when it started to catch up. I recently saw a report that the USA would have a high-speed rail soon. Then shortly afterwards followed by a report that they won't. It's gone, it's scrapped. It's too expensive or too difficult. We've watched as the president, when he was elected 4 years ago, promised he would build back better. But then he seems to have forgotten. Since there's been no new universities opened in the USA since Florida Polytechnic in 2012. Perhaps the USA's academia is already over capacity. The newest freeway to be built in the USA was the Interstate 11 in Nevada, and that opened in 2017. Has there been another since then that I've missed? China has opened 200 or more universities and technical training colleges, as well as 177,000 kilometers of new highways since Xi Jinping came to power. Should we talk about the 45,000 kilometers of high-speed rail or the many fully automated ports that have opened in so many different provinces and regions? So yeah, China was a little slow. It was tough, coming from the bottom of the list of poorest countries in the world to the top of the list. But if your definition of the modern world is still trains, electricity, refrigerators, cars, internet, phones, penicillin, toilets, air conditioning, pizza and/or Pepsi, China has them all and so much more. And perhaps the reason why some Americans think they are the best in the world and no one else has this is simply because 52% of them haven't left the United States. They've never applied for a passport to see what the modern world really looks like now. But of course, all those videos coming out of China with all those modern cities, the high-speed trains, the EV buses, and the blue skies, they're all propaganda, aren't they? Or at least they are, until, like many people are doing now, visiting China and having a look and seeing for themselves what the modern world really looks like. And it most certainly isn't any of the big cities in the US with dirty, rat-infested and crime-ridden urban jungles. But perhaps the view I have of America is also wrong. Perhaps those graffitied walls and closed-down high streets with boarded-up factories don't exist outside of the thousands of videos that I'm seeing. Perhaps those tent cities where people are forced to live, or those parking lots with cars that don't drive being used as temporary homes, or the zombie-like people that I've seen living in streets. Maybe that isn't really America, and the USA is a modern, wonderful place, just like Hollywood portrays it to be. I guess I'll never know, because although I've had a passport since I was about 14 or 15 years old, I don't think I'll ever get to the United States to see for myself. And if I were to try, I'm fairly sure they won't let me in, especially if they've watched some of my videos. But to get back to the point of this video, the modern world is not now what it was 60 years ago. It's moved on, and it's moved on in Asia. The West has war, something China hasn't seen in your lifetime unless you're over 40 years old. And in particular, the USA seems to be trapped in its 1960s time warp. It most certainly was the world's most advanced place. It was amazing, and its citizens need to be kept in a constant state of misinformed. Because if only they knew what China was like, they would, and they must, demand better. I know that I would. Thanks once again for watching my take on China, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.